Wabash Carnegie Public Library Oral History Program, interviewing Glen Bowman at his home, Wednesday, January 22nd, 1975. Glen, let's start off by giving me a little details on your background and when you were born and who your parents were and where you were born and so forth.
Okay, I was born on a farm about 8 miles south of Wabash, south and west of Wabash, April the 21st, 97. My father was a farmer. Shortly after my birth, we moved to a farm due south of town, 7 miles, which is known as the farm on Old Indian Land. At the time we lived on the farm, there was a 10-acre patch out of the corner of the farm that belonged to the Indians, John Newman, his wife, and 2 sons, Walter and now the other name slips me. But then I lived there until I was a sophomore in the 7th grade. And we moved to town, on to the south side. And I finished school over there on the south side and then came to the high school on the north side.
Let's go back. Tell me about your father's family and your mother's family. Do you remember your grandparents and what their background was?
I don't remember my father's father. I never knew him. My father's father and 6 brothers and 2 sisters came from over in Pennsylvania. At one time, my grandfather Bowman run a ferry across the Ohio River, down close to Steubenville, I think it was. That's too far back for me. I never knew him at all. I knew one of my father's brothers, Eli Bowman, but that's the only one. My mother, I can remember my grandmother on my mother's side, and my grandfather on my mother's side. My grandfather, when I was just a kid, I guess maybe 6, 7 years old, thought I should have a rifle, and he bought me a .22 rifle. Gave it to me. He was in the Civil War, of course. He told me if I ever got down to Chattanooga at a cave in Lookout Mountain, I'd find his name carved there on the rocks, which I never did, of course, never got there. But my grandmother died when I was, I think, 6 years old. She was paralyzed. She lived in our home on the farm. And I had 3 sisters, 2 brothers, all of which are gone now except myself and my brother. He lives in Florida at Titusville.
What was your home life like with a large family and mother and father and grandmother lived with you?
Yes.
What was it like?
Oh, very pleasant as I remember. We all worked. I milked many cows and helped tend garden and stuff like that. My dad was, he was sort of a horse trader. He loved to, he would buy or trade for horses and bring them home. You think they were going to die, and he'd fatten them up and sell them. And he was a well-known man in the county at that time. There was a time, Frank Plummer told me he had a county map that he'd give me, but he never did, and I never got it, where it showed my father owned 11 farms in the county. I'd love to have had that map today, but I don't have it. He never did give it to me.
Yeah. Why did they move to town?
Well, to be real honest with you, I don't know. I really don't know. I guess my dad wanted to oversee the farm, so he got off of the largest one we had and rented it, and then every morning he'd get in the car and go to one farm to the other.
But he continued to farm?
Oh, yes, yes. He never quit farming.
Yeah. Where did you go to school in the county?
At the Newman School. It was named after the Indians. It was about a mile from our house. Used to walk across our farm, just about a mile across the farm to the schoolhouse, and back every day, winter and summer. You didn't have bicycles then. I didn't have. And you walked.
Was this a one-room schoolhouse?
Yeah, one-room schoolhouse.
Did any of the teachers have a lasting effect on you from that one-room schoolhouse?
Oh, yes, yes. Carmy Deal was and Opie Stout were the teachers that I remember so well. Yeah. And Miss Deal, she never did marry, but she just died a few years ago. She lived in Marion.
The whole Bowman family must have been in the one-room school then.
Oh, yes, yes. Yes, we were.
Between the Bowmans and the Newmans, you practically made up the...
My older brother and sister went to Somerset high school. This was just to the 8th grade. I didn't get in high school till we come to Wabash.
What year did you graduate from Wabash High School then?
I never did graduate.
Never did graduate?
No.
Was there a story behind that?
No, not necessarily. I was one of these young fellows that I guess I liked to work better than I'd like to go to school. And I worked for Charlie Bradley for a long while in the drugstore. And then when I got out of there, I went to work for the American Express Company.
In other words, you quit school and went right to work for Bradley?
Yeah.
What? Let's talk about your Bradley work experience. What did you do? And
well, chief flunky and run the soda fountain. Used to run the soda fountain. Never will forget Charlie Bradley. The first day something wrong with my throat. The first day I worked, I dropped a tray of dishes. I looked all around for my hat. I was going to grab my hat and run. I thought it'd be fired. And Charlie said, "Oh, Glen, don't let that worry you. If we didn't break them up, they'd go out of business. The glass companies go out of business." So that was a pretty good one.
Yeah. What kind of money did he pay you, Glen?
You won't believe this when I tell you. When I went to work for Charlie Bradley, I got $1.50 a week. And I worked, believe me, from 7 o'clock in the morning till 11, 12 at night. 7 days a week. And I lost my first check. Charlie said, "Well, don't let it worry you. I'll give you another one. We can stop payment on that one." Then I got a raise of 25 cents a week. And I think when I quit Charlie Bradley, I was making, as I remember now, $6 a week.
What years were these that you worked for Mr. Bradley?
Oh, 16, 15, 16. I guess it was now. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Where was the drugstore then?
On the corner of Wabash and Canal Street.
Do you remember some of the businesses that are up and down the street in those days?
Oh, some of them. There was Mattern's store across the street, and King Hipskin, and of course Biteman Wolf, and Billy Gribben.
Was Renner Brothers shoe store?
Renner Shoe Store.
Was the bank over there then, across the street from the drugstore? Or was there a bank there? Or was there a jewelry store?
No. Gee, the only bank at the time now was across the street on Wabash Street, I believe.
The bank that's there now, that was the old plain dealer, was not there at that time.
No, that bank building was built for the bank that went in. I forget what the name of the bank was now.
Citizens, wasn't it?
Citizens. I think it was Citizens. Farmers and Merchants was the other bank at the time.
Your family had no objection to you quitting school and going to work in those days?
No, they didn't seem to. They thought I was willing to work, so go to work. Because on the farm, by golly, you worked. There's no time to monkey around on the farm.
Yeah. Well, what'd you do after you left Bradley Brothers?
Well, I went to work for Adams Express Company out of Fort Wayne, Indiana. And I used to be express messenger on the interurban between Fort Wayne and Lafayette. Then I joined the Army out of there. I went to World War I.
What did your job consist of in the express?
I was just express messenger.
Yeah.
Come down in the morning, go back at night. Had a safety deposit box on the interurban that I carried valuables in, and dropped express at different places along the interurban line and picked up more of it.
All you did really was ride the interurban back and forth all day long.
That's right.
Yeah.
Get down to Lafayette about just right around noon. Leave in the morning, get down there around noon, and then leave in the evening or in the afternoon about 3 o'clock, as I recall, and get back into Fort Wayne around 6 or 7.
Was this a rather exciting job for a young man?
It was for a time. It became old chestnut after a while, but it was exciting for a while.
And what did that job pay? Do you remember?
I believe I started there at $28 a month and got it up to $56. I believe that's right now.
The wages sound fantastic now, don't they?
No, don't they though? I know I paid room rent up at Fort Wayne. I believe I think my room rent was $12 a month. And I had to buy my meals out of the rest of what I made. But I didn't have any taxes to pay, so.
You made out all right.
Yeah.
Well, how did you happen to go from there to the Army then?
Well, they were asking for volunteers, and I volunteered to go and went down to Indianapolis, and they turned me down. I only weighed 106 pounds, I guess it was. So somebody said to me one day, "Why don't you try again? I think it'd be more lenient this time." So Jim Evans and I went down together. And I guess I ate about 4 pounds of bananas on the way down, and I never will forget the captain in charge down there. He said, "Well, we're going to let you go this time, but I'm going to give you 4 pounds at that."
You were still 4 pounds underweight?
I was still 4 pounds underweight.
Yeah. Now, when would this have been that you joined the Army?
17.
1917? Oh. Had the war started?
Oh, yes.
In April of 17? And did Jim stay then too? Did he go there?
Oh, yes. Jim and I went to let's see, we went to St. Louis Barracks to start with. And there we were sent from there after went through all tests again, medical tests and everything the second time. Then we were sent down to Augusta, Georgia together. But there they split us up. He was sent to Penman, Virginia, and I stayed there in Augusta, Georgia. I was there, I guess, from April until my discharge from the Army was as it was a Valentine. So I was there about 11 months, I guess, 10, 11 months.
Yeah. What did you do all this time in the Army?
Oh, just parade ground stuff.
Yeah.
Just training was all there was to it.
But you never, war was over by the time and never got...
I was in 2 overseas companies, and short wait, jerked out just before they left.
They left you behind?
Yeah, left me in camp.
Yeah. Well, what did you do when you were discharged from the Army then in February of 1918?
Well, I came back to Wabash. Let's see. Oh. Butler. Oh, wait a minute, that's ahead of time. I went back to work for the express company, that's right, and I didn't stay long, and they were building, O.W. Jenkinson Company was building a hotel in Wabash, a hotel down there in the corner.
The Indiana Hotel?
Indiana Hotel.
Yeah.
And I got a job with them as chief flunky and paymaster and everything, any odd jobs to do around there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I met Marie in the little office on the corner we had on the sidewalk on the corner. She was working at the big floor at that time in the office down there, and she'd come by in the evening, and I walk up the hill with her a little ways back down, and so pretty soon I gave her a ring, and in 1920 we were married.
Uh-huh. Well, the hotel was built by this time.
Yeah, the hotel. Yes, we were. It was finished by that time.
Yeah. Was that we're going to get back to Marie later, but was that quite a hotel for its size and the size?
It was quite a hotel.
Yeah. Looks like it was obviously well constructed to stand as long as it has, but obviously no.
A fellow by the name of Nichols from Lafayette was the architect on that. I never will forget the big boo-boo he pulled on. The elevator shaft, he had it wrong, and they had to chip out all the way from the roof to the basement 6 inches out of a square column like that to get the elevator in. And, oh, brother, what a job that was.
Was that a big occasion then when the hotel opened here?
Oh yes, quite a big occasion.
And who owned the hotel?
Well, I think Ed Bridges had more money than anybody else, and he brought in A.B. Riley and his son John to run it.
Mm-hmm.
It was known as the Red Apples Inn. That's the name back on it now.
Mm-hmm.
But, it was quite an occasion when they opened that. I never will forget. Of course, in those days, Oppenheim from Manchester put in a big cigar store in the lobby, and it was quite an affair.
Was it a moneymaker at the start, Glenn, as far as you know?
As far as I know, it was, yes.
Yeah, I presume it continued to make money until the Depression.
Yeah, probably so.
Well, what did you do after you left the construction of the hotel?
Well, I went to work for Tom Butler. He had a music store and had a soda fountain in there and noon luncheon. I run that for him for a couple of years, I guess it was. I know when I got the job after I was married, we came home from our honeymoon. I came home from our honeymoon, didn't have a job.
Where was Butler's store?
Well, it's across from the bank, there on Market Street. It was right next to the old bank. Was on the other corner, right next to that. What's in there? Loan company.
Loan company in there now?
Yeah.
And what kind of money did he pay then, Mr. Butler?
I believe I got $87 a month. 87 and a half, I think was what he paid me.
Well, at least your pay scale was going up.
Oh yes, my pay scale was going up.
And you continued on this job how long?
Oh, gee, I couldn't tell you. Not very long though, but Guy Baker, who used to be the Chamber of Commerce man here, he had a direct mail letter shop that he wanted to sell out, and so I bought it, and my wife and I run that until we went to Florida.
Tell me about the Florida experience then.
Well, my wife had worked in Indianapolis before we were married for J.W. Young, the founder of Hollywood, Florida. So when he went to Florida and started Hollywood, he wanted her to come down there and go back in his office with him. So he said he'd give me a job selling real estate. So we went down. Had an old Dodge Roadster that I paid $75 for, I believe it was. And it broke down in Marion on the way out. So we were having a party, and some friends of ours in Richmond, that night, so I sent my wife on the interurban, and I stayed there until they fixed the car, and then we got to Florida without any more trouble. Outside of in Georgia, we had to be pulled out by the ex-convicts working the road. We got in a mud hole and had to be pulled out. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, we got there all right.
Was this the Florida boom then that was going on?
I'd say it was a boom. Yeah. Money didn't mean anything like it does now, I guess. It didn't seem like it. Mm-hmm. Everybody was talking in such big figures. Mm-hmm. And I went selling real estate. I never will forget my first sale. I made $1,975 as my first check. J.W. Young, the founder, came and gave it to me himself, put his arm around my shoulder, and he says, make me double that next week. So I sold real estate down there then for quite a while.
Yeah. That was your commission, or that was the sale?
No, that was my commission.
That was your
sale.
Yeah. Easy come on the money, and what were you doing with it then?
Well, I put some of it in the bank that I lost. The bank closed. I never did get any of it.
Yeah.
But I was, the second year down there, had a sales team. I had 11 men working for me. Mm-hmm. And the first summer down there, Al Huey and I had charge of our Chicago office. Mm-hmm. And we took excursions every 2 weeks to Florida and back during the summer. Mm-hmm. And that was a very lucrative job because I got commission off everybody, everything was sold. Uh-huh. And so did he. We split the commission on everything that was sold.
Yeah. How would that work, Glen? They would advertise in Chicago for people to go to Florida?
Take a trip to Chicago.
Yeah.
Our biggest trip, we had 187 people one trip. That was the biggest one.
This was train, I'm assuming?
Train, oh yes, train.
Yeah. Then you'd get them down and you would sell them down there. Yeah. Was it, obviously it must have been very profitable for the promoter, for Mr. Young?
Oh, it was, yeah. Hey, we built a city down there, Hollywood, from nothing to 25,000 winter population in 5 years. Mm-hmm. Now they tell me it's a solid population a year around 187,000. Yeah.
Did things look fairly stable then, Glen? I mean, like the boom was going to last?
It did till 24, and somebody pulled the curtain down, and I mean, they got out of there like flies.
Yeah. What happened?
Well, I know the thing that started the downfall was, I'll tell you in a minute.
Was he a speculator also?
Yeah, he had Miami Beach. What was his name? And the original, when they started Miami Beach, the original contracts, land contracts, read, this property cannot be bought or sold to anybody of the colored race or Jewish faith. Uh-huh. And that had held up for all these years. Well, this fellow owned the racetrack in Indianapolis. Doggone, I can't think of his name.
That wasn't the man from Terre Haute, was it?
No. Well, anyway, he went broke putting the causeway across the bay at Miami. Uh-huh. And he needed money badly, so he came to Chicago, or came to Indianapolis, and banks wouldn't loan him money. So he knew Henry Ford didn't like the Jews at that time, so he went to Henry Ford, and Henry Ford, this is a story that I'm told is very true, that Henry Ford loaned him the money, and he came back to Indianapolis. The banks had loaned him money, and they were going to close him out. That was the way it was. Yeah. And he came back to Indianapolis with the money in a bag and paid the banks off. Mm-hmm. And had enough left over to go down and finish his causeway. And that's what made him. Then business really boomed. But what started the downfall, through hook or crook, the Jews had gotten onto the island. They had bought stuff and gotten on there, and so as every wise land operator does, developer, he reserved from 2 to 4 to 6 lots in every block, marked them off as sold to start with. Well, then NBT Rooney came in from New Jersey and became a partner, or became affiliated with, I'll tell you his name pretty soon. And he made the remark that, gee, we can get a lot of money down here if you want to do it. So they decided that they advertised in New York City that on such and such a date, property would be thrown open to the Jews on Miami Beach. And he loaded 2 boatloads of Jews in New York City and brought them down there. And they put from 2 to 4 lots in each block, single lots, on sale at a tremendous price. It was half down in the balance in 1 year, or something like that. And I guess the telegraph office had to stay open all night. People wiring New York for more money, more money. And they had a tremendous sale. Well then, before the Jews got out of New York, or out of Miami, he put some other lots on the sale at about half price. And he took in another tremendous amount of money. Well then that just made property up in that end of Florida began dropping and people losing interest in everything. So that was...
But Hollywood was, even to this day, is known as a white Protestant community, not a Jewish community. Were they selling...
Oh no, Hollywood has turned Jewish.
Has it? Yeah, but up until World War II, it was primarily non-Jewish. Yeah. That's where they went to Fort Lauderdale and to Hollywood, and the Jewish people stayed Miami and Miami Beach. Yeah. Is that right?
Well, no, the Jews got into Hollywood right at the start.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. They weren't barred there at all.
Yeah. But there were no discrimination clauses or anything at Hollywood. Yeah. Well, what kind of money were you making then, Glenn, in those years?
Oh, I hate to tell you, but I paid the biggest income tax I ever paid in my life down there when I was selling real estate. I'll just put it that way.
Were you? Yeah. Were you you said you banked the money and then lost it all?
I banked some down there and lost it in the bank. And
yeah.
I bought some property down there and...
It went sour too?
Yeah, I lost it. I went in too deep.
Yeah. Did you go into the stock market too, Glenn?
Yeah, I took a licking in the stock market too.
Yeah. You tried them all, huh? You weren't selective about the way you lost your money.
No, I never forget Lawrence Stewart, who was a Wabash boy here. He was selling real estate down there too. He came down and I got him a job with the company. And I had purchased some ground up in North Hollywood, 10 acres, on a binder. And I was offered $600,000 for it and I turned it down. I told the fellow no, when he wanted to give me $1 million for it, he'd have it. He wanted a nightclub and parking and everything, use it that way. Well, Lawrence Stewart, he wanted to kick me in the pants when he heard that I turned down 600, and finally I let it go for taxes.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. But that's the way I go.
Well, the boom down there broke before the general economy of the country went bad. Is that right?
Well, yes, because the big drop in the economy in the country at that time was in 29.
Yes.
Yeah.
But here you are, you've more or less gone broke in 26. You're 3 years ahead of everybody else. Yeah. What did you do then?
Well, I came back to Wabash and went to work for Honeywell.
And
I didn't go to work for Honeywell right away either. J.W. Young, I went up the Eastern Seaboard rewriting contracts and getting people to property that we had sold, getting it so they could, if the payments were too big, cut the payments down so they could meet their payments. And I worked up that for nearly a year, and then I came north and came back to Wabash and worked Detroit and some of the towns in Michigan on rewriting contracts.
Who was financing was Young himself financing this?
Oh yes,
these
the company, Hollywood Land Water Company was still financing it, yeah. But I never will forget in Lynchburg, Virginia, one Sunday evening I was sitting in the lobby and the colored guy going around with a tray full of lemonade. So I put a dime on the tray and took a glass of lemonade. And just then I had a boy paging me, telegram. I gave him, I never will forget, I had $1.25 to start with. That's all I had in my pocket. I gave him a dime for the telegram and read it. And, Marie, could I please send her some money? Well, I was sitting there flipping it like this and drinking my lemonade, and I got another wire. Took it off the tray. Byron Robert, fellow was traveling with me. He was up in Virginia someplace, I forget the name of the town now, and he'd blown a tire, and would I send him $25 to get a tire so he could get down there with me. And I thought, well, I've got a check coming in, should be in tomorrow on Monday morning. So I walked over to the desk, and the manager of the hotel back there, I handed him my key. I said, here's the key to that Packard sitting outside there. Here's 2 telegrams. I'd like to take care of them. One of them anyway. Well, he looked at them, and he looked at that key, and I said, now, I should have a check here in the morning. Well, he said, I tell you what, Marie's telegram, she wanted $75. He said, I'll loan you the money for this one, but let this other guy take care of himself. I want a new tire. So I never will forget it. He loaned me $75, and we sent it out on the wire, and the next morning my check came in, and I paid him off. And I called Byron on the phone and told him that there was a check in the mail to him. I was mailing the check. I said, by the way, I haven't put it in the mail yet. Didn't you get your check this morning? He said, yes, I did. I said, well, then I'm going to tear this up. I'm not going to send this to you. But you found people that, well, they overextended themselves. They got, they could see too much when they were in Florida. They overdid it. And it wasn't hard to rewrite contracts to what they could afford to do. Mm-hmm. Or if they had bought 2 lots, we'll cancel one out and put it all on the one and do things like that.
Yeah. But in the meantime, Young was not selling more lots down there, or was he? The thing had died down?
They were trying to sell them, but
yeah.
all the salesmen, most of the salesmen had left. They still had their office open to collect money that came in. And,
had Young realized a good amount of money out of this by this time? Or
yes, yeah.
Had he spent most of it, or?
Well, to Mr. Young, money was made to spend, to do something with. That was his, he was the promoter. Mm-hmm. And believe me, the more he had to pay you, the more he made. He didn't hold any punches. He wanted to pay you more money because he made more money. Mm-hmm. And it was all spent on development building. Gee, all of the lake section of Hollywood, Florida was pumped in land, made land.
Mm-hmm. Did Marie go on home then before you went out rewriting contracts? Had she gone back?
Oh, she was here in Wabash.
She'd gone back to Wabash by this time?
Yes, yeah.
No children by this time?
No, but my oldest son, we lost our first son, but the son living, yesterday was his birthday, 21st, 21st, and I was went to bed last night thinking about it. I was in Raleigh, North Carolina, 9 years old.
You were still on this rewriting contract?
Rewriting contracts. Uh-huh. And he was, I don't know, 4 months old, I guess, before I ever saw him, before I got here.
Yeah. Well, who was Marie? Did she come back and make her own home, or she gone to her parents?
Her parents lived here, Marie Sheff.
Yeah. Well, she had gone back to her parents.
Yeah.
Well, you make the circuit of the south, working your way north, and then you finally wind back in Wabash, and what happens?
After I closed out with Young, I went down to Honeywell, and Fred Mudgett was sales manager, and he said, sure, come on in, we'll give you a job.
Mm-hmm.
So...
What year would this have been now, Glenn?
I was 27.
27.
I believe it was 27.
Yeah, okay.
And I took some training down in the plant, went on the road for them in Ohio. They bought me an automobile with some controls in it that I could demonstrate, so on and so forth. And I went into Ohio, and then shortly thereafter, they merged with Minneapolis. And then there were two of us in Ohio. They had a man in Ohio, and I was in there. So I was at Circleville, Ohio. Now, don't ask me for dates because, gee, it's been so long ago. I was at Circleville, Ohio, when I got a wire from CB Sweat come into Wabash and turn in my car. I was through. So I did just that. Went down and talked to Mr. Honeywell and Fred Mudgett. Mr. Honeywell said, Glenn, you go up home and sit down. You're not fired. He said, I hired you. We'll do something about this. Well, I don't know how long I sat at home doing nothing, and I wasn't happy, and I knew Mr. Honeywell wasn't, so I finally went to him one day and I said, Mr. Honeywell, give me permission to go up to Minneapolis. If I can't sell CB Sweat on a job, I'm coming back and find one someplace else. He said, gee, man, I'm glad you said that. Tomorrow we'll give this guy a check to go to Minneapolis on. Which she did. And I went up there and I sold CB Sweat on going back to Ohio. I had my records. And we compared them with the guy that was in Ohio and my records, and I'd beat him the pants off of him. So I got my job back. But I knew that he didn't like it. I just knew that when I walked out, that I'd sold him, oversold him maybe. And then I went ahead and held my job over there till 29 and the Depression hit, and the first thing I was in, well, they'd extended my territory. I was in Buffalo, New York, I believe it was, when I got the wire just cutting my salary in half. And I said to myself, well, by golly, you don't have to take this. There's other places you can work besides here. So I called John Robertshaw on the phone from Buffalo, and he made an appointment to meet me on Saturday morning. And I stopped off there on the way home, and when I left him, I had a job. Mm-hmm. And Mr. Honeywell, he didn't like it because I quit, but I couldn't get along with the little guy up there, so why battle?
Why fight it?
Yeah, why fight it?
Who was Mr. Mudgett, did he stay as the sales manager?
Well, he was here for quite a while, but then he was moved to New York City and made sales manager in New York office. Mm-hmm. He had the New York office. Mm-hmm. And later, when they bought out, I can't think of the name of the company now, in Philadelphia, a recording company down there. He was moved down to Philadelphia, and Fred died in Philadelphia. I think it was in '46.
Mm-hmm. What kind of money did you make when you started with Honeywell, Glen?
Gee, me. I believe $250 a month was what I was drawing.
Plus your expenses?
Yes.
And the company car? Yeah. Who did you call on?
I was calling then on utility companies, gas utility companies, and furnace manufacturers, stoker manufacturers.
How was the Honeywell material well accepted?
Oh, yes, yeah.
Even with the combination of the Minneapolis Regulator and the Honeywell?
Well, they were practically all alone in that field.
Yeah.
When they merged, they were the only ones in the field.
Yeah. They had it.
Well, no, there was one other. There was Jewel. down east, which they bought out later on.
Was it a good working relationship you had with the company then?
Oh, yes, yeah.
Did you get home often, or?
Oh, and Robertshaw when I went to work?
No, when you were with Honeywell.
Well, yes, maybe you'd be gone one weekend out of two, but usually I didn't have such a big territory that I didn't. Not like when I went to work for Robertshaw. My golly, I used to be gone 6 and 8 weeks at a time.
Yeah, we'll get on to the Robertshaw in a minute or so. I want to ask you about the relationship then with Mark Honeywell, and if you knew Olive's first wife, and were you meeting him socially or anything that went on in those days of a personal nature?
Yes, we were very, very friendly. Yes. I never will forget Atlantic City one time at a convention down there. Mark and Olive were down, and I had Marie with me, and so I invited them to go to dinner with us one night, and I don't know, we went out to Hackney's, I believe it was. We had steamed clams and all the ocean food you could get. Mark said to me when we came home, I was in his office, he said, "Say, I think I'm going to hire you." I said, "I thought you'd had. I'm working for you." Yeah, but he said, "To show us how to have a good time." Said, "We sure had a good time with you and Marie down in Atlantic City."
Yeah. Did you ever see him in Florida then, Glen?
Oh, yes, yes. Yes, now I'm trying to think. We never stayed at, I never stayed at his house when Olive was living. But we did see him in Florida, and then when he married Jean, well, we were down there over a weekend one time and had a big time. But Mark he was a very gracious fellow. Marie and I used to stop and see him. Never will forget one time we stopped at his house. I believe it was the night before Christmas or something like that. And I had a jug of mixed drinks I was carrying with me. And we went in, and Mark said, "Glen, you don't know how lonesome a rich man can be just because people won't stop to see him." Like we did. Well, Marie and I, we always stopped to see him. But he, for a while after I quit, went to work for somebody else, Mark would hardly speak to me. He didn't like it at all. And he finally got over it, and then we were good friends again.
You never sold him any land or anything when you were working in Florida or anything like that?
I didn't try to.
Was your relationship with the rest of the Honeywell employees and the other salesmen, was that good while you were working for the company?
Oh, yes, yeah.
Well, let's go on to your Robertshaw experience then.
Well, in 30, I believe it was, or 31, gee, I went to work for Robertshaw, and I'll never forget, Mark said that he didn't know a guy that could do what I did in the heart of a depression, or when we were having a depression, quit a job and get another job for more money, which I did. I forget just how much more it was, but I got a better job. But boy, did I work for it. When I first went to work for Robertshaw, I covered this entire country, including Canada. And you didn't have airplanes to fly then. You went by horseback or any way you could get there. But I used to be gone 6 to 8 weeks at a time, especially when I hit the Canadian route. Then I found out, I got smart. I found out your big accounts in Canada, maybe you'd want to see 2 or 3 times a year, but your smaller ones, you could do it all in one call by attending the Toronto Exposition. Everybody showed there. All of my customers did. Once a year I could go in and see all of them, the little fellas and all of them that way, and then the bigger fellas. But the Canadians I loved them as customers. They'd always give you a chance. If you were in bad, they didn't tell your competitor. They told you, and you better get yourself in here. If you can straighten it out, all right. Otherwise, we're going to quit you.
Yeah. Was this comparable material that you were selling at Robertshaw with what you had at Honeywell, or was it a little different?
No, it was different. See, at Honeywell, I was selling furnace and stoker controls, damper controls, and stuff like that. For Robertshaw, it was all gas and electric range controls, water heater controls for your automatic water heaters.
Yeah.
These were different breed of cats.
Were you handicapped in either of these jobs without a lack or with no formal education or anything, Glen? Did you? I mean, nowadays on a job like this, they'd obviously send out a sales engineer that graduated from Purdue and all this, but you didn't feel that handicap, or?
No, I didn't feel it at all.
Yeah.
I went into Canada. Well, I was told by John Robertshaw before I went in. He said, "I hope you can break down something we've done up there, because we're just not selling anything in Canada."
Mm-hmm.
Well, I said, "Brief me on it. Tell me what you've done, and I'll see if I can break it down." Well, they didn't want to travel a man in Canada. So one of the big stove companies up there said, "Okay, we'll handle your stuff for you up here." Mm-hmm. Well, of course, yeah, they handled on their own stoves, but they didn't sell it to anybody else. Mm-hmm. Because it was to their advantage. Mm-hmm. Well, that was what I was told in all the rest of the plants I went in up there. And I think I broke it down by, getting them to realize that everybody makes a mistake. Mm-hmm. That's the reason why we're in business. Somebody made a mistake. Mm-hmm. And I got them to understand that we're sorry, but we want your business. And I started out I picked off, I guess, the next largest one in Canada to start with, and that was the start I got. I used to sell GE and Westinghouse electric thermostats in Canada. They wouldn't buy from their own people down here not because they didn't want to buy them, but they wouldn't guarantee like we would. We guaranteed we'd keep them running. We'd repair them anytime they sent them in. 25, 30 years they're out. Which they still do today, I guess.
Of course, the electric and the gas stove business was expanding constantly, and the water heater business was coming onto its own, and rural electrification contributed also to this. Uh-huh. And you continued to grow and continued to make money even during the Depression.
Oh, yes, yeah.
You were living better than you had in Florida, even.
Well, not quite yet.
Were you completely wiped out in the crash financially by the time we hit the bottom in 1933 and the banks closed and the market's gone to pot?
You mean from Florida?
From your own personal standpoint?
Well, not completely. No, I still had a little nest egg back, but it was very little.
Yeah. Were you concerned? I mean, the family was here, and
well, today I would be. Back in those days, it wasn't like it is today. Back in those days, people wanted to work. Mm-hmm. They didn't want charity. They didn't want dole. Mm-hmm. And I would take anything. It didn't make any difference what it was, as long as I could be earning something. Mm-hmm. And I guess maybe that's the reason why I don't know. I never had a fear of not making a living.
Yeah. Well, you stayed with Robertshaw how long then, Glen?
30 years.
30 years, and you were what was your title when you finally finished up?
I was district sales manager for 22 states right down to the heart of the country here.
What age did you retire then?
65.
At 65. Was that mandatory retirement at that time? Yeah. Let's talk about some other things now. Let's talk about Marie. Tell me, you met her when you were working on the hotel, and who were her parents, Glen?
William Sheff. He was with the foundry down here. They used to have down here in the house here on
Factory Street.
Factory Street, yeah. He was a molder for years.
Was he an only child? Or was she an only child, I should say? Was Marie?
Marie was an only child. They lost some, but Marie's mother and father were, I guess, the greatest humanitarians, let me put it that way. They raised more children, relatives, took care of more relatives. Now, Catherine Garner, who married Fritz Lunston in Indianapolis, the landscape architect, Marie's father and mother, and Marie and I raised her, and our chief engineer in Robertshaw, Russell Garner, we raised him. They did most of it, but when I got into the family, I joined them and all that. Mm-hmm. And Russell's father was very, very poorly, and they took care of him. And as I say, they were humanitarians.
Where was the family home, Glen, for their family?
Up on Stitt Street.
On Stitt?
Yeah.
Tell me about your early married life then, and wandering around and.
Well, I think you've got most of it. We lived here in Wabash for a while before we went to Florida, and made our way down there and came back. And from here, when I first went to work for Honeywell, they had me move over to Cleveland, Ohio, and then I got into this tussle with C.B. Sweat, and we came back to Wabash, and then we lived in Greensburg, Pennsylvania a while after I joined Robertshaw. Mm-hmm. But then we moved back here. Robertshaw wanted me to move to Dayton, Ohio. I opened an office down there. And I talked him out of that because I said our biggest customer down there is Frigidaire. And if I move in there, I'll never get out of the damn town because every morning there'll be something they want to know about. Mm-hmm. And boy, we opened an office down there anyway, and it was just about that bad. Never be that close to your biggest customer, mm-hmm. or they want your time.
All the time?
Yeah.
Well, when did you build the house on Miami Street then?
Well, the boys were in high school. That's 30, let's see, got it in there 42, this is 74, 5, so that's 33 years ago. Yeah.
That's when you built the house?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was a good move on your part.
Oh yes, it was.
Yeah. It was a nice house.
Darn nice house. And Marie picked this one out. She said she was willing to move over here. That was you couldn't get any help in that 2 acres there. Was a lot to take care of. Mm-hmm. He sold it and moved over here, but she never liked it.
Never liked it here? Wasn't satisfied?
Wasn't satisfied. Yeah. Well, she practically built that house over there. I was on the road all the time when it was being built.
Mm-hmm. You built at the right time, too.
Oh, yes, yeah.
How about the children? Tell me about the children. You had one son, they say, that died in childbirth?
Yes.
And stillborn, or?
Yeah.
And that would have been your oldest?
He would have been 50 years old this September. And Bill was 47 years old yesterday. Tom will be 17 months difference between them.
45.
He'll be 46 in April, or in June.
And did this, obviously the first one being stillborn would have had a profound effect on your life, or?
Well, no, it didn't have, I guess. We were young, and it wasn't long till we had the other two, so we had a very, very lucrative life. We enjoyed, I don't know who enjoyed life any more than we did. We've done a lot of traveling, and the boys have never caused us any trouble. They're both happily married, and they're in business together now. Mm-hmm. So, have no complaints.
Yeah. Marie got sick, what, 2 or 3 years before she died, Glenn?
Well, she was operated on 6 years ago in February.
Isn't that long?
For gallstones. And they detected a cancer on her colon at that time. But they said they had it all. And for us not to worry. And nothing showed up in 5 years. She was free and clear. Well, it went 6 years. It showed up. But Marie didn't die from the cancer. She died from a massive heart attack. I was at her bedside. She had just finished eating her evening meal. And I said, honey, let me lower your bed now so you'll be more comfortable. And just put it back to where she said she was comfortable, and she just went that way and dropped.
How long were you married, Glenn? How many years?
Well, it would be 55 years this October the 2nd.
You have a good memory for those dates, family dates.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. You enjoy the grandchildren and that when you see them?
Oh, I should say I do.
Are you enjoying retirement?
Well, not like I should, I guess, right now, because I'm by myself. But I did up to Marie's death. Yeah, I've been retired 13 years the 1st of April, and that seems an awful long time now.
Are you taking any winter vacations at all, Glenn, other than see the kids?
Well, I don't think I will this winter. I think I've had enough traveling for this winter. I was out there for the month of December. My brother's down in Florida. He wants me to come down there, but I don't think I will. Florida, to me, has no kick anymore. It's just like Coney Island.
Too many people.
Too many people. When we used to go to Florida, first started going down there, we'd go to Jacksonville always, and then go down the Ocean Drive and see the ocean nearly all the way down, and now you can't for condominiums and high rises. No fun. And then we were down in Florida 3 years ago for a couple of months, I guess it was, at Delray, and we never went to Miami or even to Hollywood. One fellow said to me one day, what the hell do you want to go to Miami for anyway? You can't get out of your car, you can't find a place to park it, so you drive down and drive back. And that's just about how it was.
Well, I think this has been real interesting, Glenn, and can you think of anything else you want to add or subtract?
No.
Nothing? Well, then I'll close this interview. This is George Dingledy for the Wabash Carnegie Public Library.